Viewers, again, welcome. This is Spotlight. We are talking about wealth. And this is an important discussion, especially at this particular time when people are trying to get new ways and new lines of reclaiming or regaining that which could be really have been eroded by this season. We are so happy to be joined by Wiathaka Gatumia, the CEO of Centonomy, giving us some wonderful insights, including that there is a wealth threshold, and that's very interesting because Wiathaka, coming to the Christian space, there are two perspectives. There is the prosperity gospel, which has its own lashings and has been really brought down. But there's also the modesty gospel, which means don't have too much ambition, be, in a way, as far as wealth is concerned, be regular, be average, and these are, two dimensions going on. And every single day we have Christians in either of these places. Can you speak to those perspectives?
Well, I don't think I want to go into saying either is right or wrong. But I just find my faith perspective speaks of balance in life. I think the best example, and people usually take this verse out of context, but you'll tell me, Pastor, if I'm correct or not. You're the one who went, you've studied theology. But Paul said, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. If I'm correct, the context of that verse in Philippians is he was saying, I know how to abound and I know how to have to be content even in difficulty. And he was trying to say, look, who is our provider? Who is our source? It is Christ, our God, who is in control. And whether I have a lot or I have a little, I'm content because I know if I'm in my purpose and God has called me to my purpose, I'm fine. I think everything has to have a balance. But I think, let me speak to those who think that having money is a bad thing. I think that it comes from a place where, for instance, we feel like we are denying, by having, that we are denying others. That only happens when you are a thief or you're corrupt. Yes, if you have gained wealth through corruption, where you have stolen from somebody, where it was public funds that should have been used for something, it was in your business, you were supposed to pay for the right services that were coming in, and you siphoned off a little for yourself, yes, then you're denying someone else. But if I have honestly worked and the Lord has blessed me and I have an abundance, I am not denying anybody else. In fact, I have the ability, to do a lot more. I have seen church projects which have been funded by an individual. In our church, can I give a shout out to our church?
Oh yeah, okay,
PCA Loresho, my
yes.
people. PCA Loresho has been my church all my life, a great community. And we were doing a project to do the sound system at some point. And when we were young, when we were in the youth, the first sound system we ever bought, we did concerts, we raised funds for almost 2 years, and we bought it. This time round, I called a friend, he called 2 others, handful of guys, ladies and gentlemen, 7 million project. We didn't even do a fundraiser. It was simply input in the church. That's it. The men in our church, the PCMF church members, there was a screen that we needed in the church. We didn't do fundraising for 2 years. They simply looked at each other and said, how can we help? Funded that project. You tell me that wealth is not a good thing. We've been feeding from our church over 100 families, especially at the onset of COVID when there was a huge hit. Especially people who were earning daily. When there was a first lockdown, that was a big issue because now you have no daily bread. Over 100 families were being fed from our church on a daily basis for a period of time, and we're still feeding people even till this day. Tell me wealth is not a good thing. When you have, you give. And in fact, what I've noticed, this is my personal experience, is that those who have more, give more. And it's because of that principle. It's a biblical principle. Give, and it will be given to you. But we focus so much on the negative side. And I understand because of the culture that we have in this nation and this continent where we've been stolen from so many times, you even get disillusioned. But listen, believers, we are not of this world. We are not. And our culture is different from this world. And so when you look biblically and see the men of God we see abundance in the Bible. That's what we see. Now, I'm not saying that there was no poverty, and I'm not saying that there was no difficulty. But as a theme through the Bible, you will see abundance. Why? Because it shows the nature of our God who is abundant. I think our Bible talks about the pavement in heaven is gold. Is that not abundance? You tell me. Look at nature itself. Just go outside and look. I love to watch these nature documentaries on telly because you see God's extravagance. It's not even abundance, it's extravagant. The beauty of this world, it shows me. I look into the sky. My wife loves astronomy. To look at you look out there and you see, is that not an extravagant God? So, but there's balance.
Yeah,
there's balance when you see Jesus speaking, and he says the gospel was to the poor.
Yes.
And he says, come on.
Yeah, so the sense of ambition is essentially godly, and that should, be coupled by a huge consciousness of morality.
Yes.
Such that when you are morally aware of your ambition, then you should actually just go for it. Just go for it.
I think I want to use a different word than ambition. I want to use the word purpose, and I want to use the word authority that was given. That we were called into this world and we were given work. Genesis, before the fall, we were told to work. Work has always been part of what we are doing. And so when you're in line with your purpose and you're bringing value and order into this world, like we were told in Genesis 1 and 2, come on, abundance has to come. I look at people who have created wealth and I just see what have they done. They have generated value, such value that money has to follow.
Okay.
In fact, when I'm talking to young people, I always tell them, money follows value. Wherever you see value, money will find it. If you create a good business, here, even in this country, you will raise millions of dollars, not Kenya shillings, in funding, because you have created a thing of value. If you are at the workplace and you are valuable, you are the one who will be promoted, you'll be given a raise, you'll be given opportunities that are there because you're what? Valuable. But people want to be paid to generate value. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Now that Wiathaka, you talked about young people.
Yes.
And clearly, when you look at the dynamics of young people, and this is even political, where there's a big expression around joblessness and lack of employment, and it's a reality, right? And it seems clearly like that the employment model has collapsed, whereby you look for a job, just looking at the numbers, the number of graduates being released versus the number of jobs available. It seems like, young people are in a certain trap, and so even as you talk about wealth, there's that trap that they have to beat. Can you speak to that?
We had a webinar this weekend. Actually, I was talking to young people and I said, let me first speak to them. Young person in Kenya, in Africa, this color, let me speak to you. There is no difference between you and those guys in Silicon Valley who are creating the next thing that will change the world. There's no difference. You have the same mind, you have the same opportunity. Now you have the same technology in front of you. If you have gone to university, you have seen a laptop, use it. There's no difference. So stop giving excuses. Secondly, get out into the workplace right now. Because as I said, money follows value. It blows my mind because by the grace of God, by God's grace, my parents worked very hard, and I thank God for my parents because they sent me out of this country. And sometimes that perspective shows you. When I was in university, you don't just go to college. When you finish college, you go to work. And that starts even in high school because like the shop that I used to serve ice cream when I was in university. I was the oldest guy in that shop. I was serving with teenagers. That means those teenagers are already part of the economy. They've already started working and learning how to do things. So when I was speaking to these young people here in Kenya and Africa, because the webinar was actually across Africa, we get from Uganda, Tanzania, and I told them, stop waiting to finish university to look for a job. There are so many companies who cannot afford you, but they can give you experience. And that thing called experience is what is so valuable. Go to a company. Say you want to be in insurance. Go to an insurance company and say, can I work here while I'm in university? I'll give you my time for free, but you'll give me experience. And when I live here, I'll live here having worked in an insurance company for 4 years, so that when I have my degree, I arrive and I go to apply somewhere, I have 4 years experience plus a degree. What are you waiting for? This is the question I'm asking these young people. Who are these people who are starting these global businesses that are changing the world? Are they not young people who have great ideas on that side? What are you doing in college after you finish your classes? Sit down with your friends and stop drinking and doing all these other things, going out for parties all the time. No, you need to go and party every so often, but don't go every weekend. Sit down with your guys and say, you know what? If we had all to raise 5K, and we are 10 of us here, that's 50,000. What can we do with that 50K? When you pose things, it's Robert Kiyosaki who talks about this, and he says, when you change, his rich dad taught him this, when you change problems to questions, it opens your mind. When you make it a statement, there are no jobs, then there are no jobs. But if you can say, how can I create a job? I have seen people write a job description, give it to a company, and the company hires them. They didn't even have a job. They didn't even have an opportunity, but they made a way for themselves. When I'm speaking to young people, this mentality that we have to be given, we have to break that in this nation. It comes from some of the education system that we've got. Because the education system tells you, is what, okay.
That's okay.
I'm showing my age. Because people don't remember that song. So many vijana. You see, isn't you know that song. You know Muisho, yes.
Muongeze pia bidii.
Very good. Muisho wa kusoma.
Utapata kazi nzuri sana.
So we are waiting for that job instead of generating it. So when I'm speaking to young people now, I'm saying, what are you bringing to the world? The people who are driving the US economy, the Chinese economy, they are not old people. It's young men and women who have ideas and are not just, they don't just keep the idea here. They put it on paper, they look for funding, they get it in that space. We have to change that mentality. Go out now. If you're in college, you should be working. Even if you're working for free, that free is not free. You're generating that experience that will separate you from those people who are just getting their degree. Come on.
Yeah, and it's very inspiring, that dimension of like, I'm 4 years in college.
Yes.
I should definitely have some work experience by the time I'm graduating. And one of the things that stands also in the way of many Kenyan young people, I don't know how you would engage that, is they say everywhere you go, there's so much corruption. Everywhere you go, there's so much corruption. Can you help them get over that?
Look, we are in the world, but we are not of this world. I think that's the thing. As believers, we need to come to terms with and understand the world is corrupt. But we cannot stay here and say, oh, that's the end of it. No, Christ said there will be trouble, but praise God, I have overcome the world. And what he was saying was, if he has overcome it, by God's grace, he will help us overcome as well. You be the change where you are. The reason corruption is out of control is because we are corrupt. We are the same people who break the law. You'll drive poorly, break a law, you'll be arrested by a policeman, and instead of going through the hassle of going to the police station, being charged, going to court, paying your fine like a proper citizen, you say, okay. You're the same ones who are saying, yes, Those job opportunities where if you slip something a little bit in, you're one of those people who are saying, I can't get a job without doing that. You're also saying, I'm not. You see, it comes the same, it's a faith issue. You're saying, my God is not able to overcome the issues that are facing. When you participate in the corruption, you're saying, my God is not able. So I have to help him. I have to help the situation. So we have to be the change ourselves. Young people, vote. If you're going to complain about the leadership that we have, vote. Vote for the leadership that matters. Join political parties. Vote in the primaries. Vote. Do your part. You see, the thing is, there's a thing that we say, oh, everything is so corrupt. Even if, what will my one vote do? It changes things. Because if it's one, and you're one, and we're all together in this same thing, we make a difference. We can't sit back and say, the world is, yes, it is troubled, but we can be the change.
That's a very insightful place there, especially for young people of faith.
Yeah.
That yes, there is corruption, but you have with you the one who overcame, and there's something there's a dimension that you are able to live in, and achieve the abundance promised, even though the world that we are living in is really a world of decay. Now, that faith perspective is quite empowering.
Yeah.
Now, young people on one hand, retiring people on the other, because retirement is a place of anxiety for many people. And it's a big thing because you feel like everything you've held on the cloud and the predictability and all that is now shifting, right? And you can speak to that also in terms of preparation for retirement, and also in case you didn't prepare and now it's coming, what's the wise response?
So one of the keys to this, we started training actually because we realized there's a gap in the market on this. So we actually do offer retirement training. And last year is when we began doing it within the corporate space. And it was so interesting to listen to the stories of people in that space. One of the biggest issues is, what am I retiring into? Because many people don't know what they're going to do. And the time they're thinking about what they're going to do is 2 years to retire, or it is you are actually retiring. Now, what am I going to do? Remember we talked about linking with your purpose in life? We were built to work. And I don't think there's a time in which you will not be doing something. I know he's been in the media a lot recently. Bill Gates, one of the wealthiest men in the world. He has enough wealth for him, his children's children. I mean, no one has to work ever again. But right now, he's working harder than he has in a long time. Because he's trying to help solve global problems like healthcare, like this vaccine coming out, global problems. Like, he has found a purpose beyond just having work for money. We all need to have that. And so, even as you begin to think about retirement, think, what am I going to do with my time? That's a big issue, because that will assist even in just giving you that sense of I'm waking up to go and do things. The second thing is this. Remember, we started off talking about we must be building assets. That's what we talked about. Assets that will be putting money in our pocket. Your 100 million house, which we talked about, when you're living there, you need to have assets, apartments, government bonds, shares in the market, businesses that you have started, that all are putting cash in your pocket to allow you to live in that nice house. Now, if you don't have assets by the time you're retiring, you need to quickly figure out where they're coming from. So one of the things that is major that's happening is in this country right now is that we're finding our parents' generation who are retired or retiring now, they often have one big asset, in quotes, their home. And then they don't have anything else. So they're living in their home, but they're still calling their children to ask for what? Because they have no cash to survive even in that house. So when we're talking to people in retirement, we begin to say, look at this one asset. Like, for instance, God forbid, you make it to the $1 million house that we discussed earlier, but you don't have other assets. Imagine you have $1 million in the soil there. How do we restructure this so that maybe you move to a smaller place, And with the cash that is left over, you purchase now income earning assets. Those are the ones that sustain people in their retirement. So if you're targeting your retirement, and I'm speaking to that 20-year-old now, because retirement is coming, by the way, it's coming faster than you think. To you 20-year-old, to you 30-year-old, to you 40-year-old, you're putting aside cash into assets that are income earning so that they sustain you in your retirement. If you get to your retirement and you don't have them, it's to look at your current assets. So many people retire with land. Land. We've seen this so many times. But land is not income earning. It's just there. So now you need to start thinking, how do we convert our assets from just those that store wealth, but to those that begin to generate cash flows? That is the key in retirement. Cash is the key in retirement. If you don't have cash, that's where stress happens.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, and I trust that the young people are listening, senior people are listening, middle-aged people are listening, because that's an important season in life. And this, where we are right now, when you think about the economic dynamics that are happening, everyone is talking recovery. Everyone is talking, getting back to maybe a former position.
Yeah.
And I'm sure our viewers are looking forward to you just giving some tips as to how do we recover. What are the specific things that we need to do to get ourselves from the lowly financial position to a place where we can say now we are breathing again.
Okay. Wow, that's such a broad question. I wish I could answer it, but I think I'll steal from a good friend of yours, Reverend Lauren Sharstein. She preached a message during this pandemic at our church, and she spoke from the story of the wedding in Cana. And what she spoke about was that they were in a crisis. What was expected to be there had run out. It was going to be embarrassing. It was going to be a difficult time. It was a moment of crisis. And what she said really caught my attention. She said that when Jesus performed his miracle and brought that shift, when they brought the problem to Christ, he didn't restore what they had before. He gave them even better. So by God's grace, may we come out of this with new wine that was not the same as what was expected. I stole that from Reverend Lauren Sharstein, and it was for the sake of this. I'm saying in every crisis there's opportunity, and it is time for us to begin to see what those opportunities are. A company like Zoom offered a solution that in this crisis has more than doubled their value in the stock market because they were prepared. They gave us a solution in this time. Things are changing. I want you to look around your space, whether it's in your company or in the market as an entrepreneur. Where is there a problem? Because where there's problems, there are opportunities. If we can begin to leverage on those opportunities, maybe you've been let go from an organization and but in that organization, there were things that you used to be frustrated by. I wish they did things differently. I wish they did things. Write a proposal. Go to their competitors and tell them, I've worked for many years. I saw this as a problem. I can bring this solution to you. I think we are so locked into, I want my old job back. I want my old position back. We are not ready to make change. We are not really good at change as human beings. And I understand it. Change is difficult. It's uncomfortable. But there's something that I've realized recently. Growth only happens in discomfort. Think about it. As a teenager, so many changes. You grow a centimeter at night. You wake up, you're knocking your knee on something. Every stage of growth has discomfort. You want to grow as far as your health is concerned, you eat better. And eating better is not easy. It's a discomfort when you see everybody doing all this. You have to go to the gym. The gym is continuous discomfort. And crises are uncomfortable. But they make us wake up and think differently. So because you gave me a very broad question, I've given you a very broad answer.
Okay. Yes.
And I wanted to just say this. Where there's a problem, and I know it's a cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason, there's an opportunity. But we have to start looking at problems as, how do I solve this? Not, oh my goodness, it's the end of the world.
All right.
What can you offer?
You know, and you make a very strong faith statement, and the possibilities in Jesus, whom you have referenced quite a bit, that this could even be a season for better wine, not just resuming what was here before, but even better wine.
Yes.
And talking about better wine, finally,
Yes.
Centonomy as an institution.
Yes.
You've done quite a lot of empowerment. Stories have been changed. What are some of the unique things that we can say that you are now, serving the community with, or offering to the community that are to help them for this particular time?
You see, we as human beings, we learn from other people's experiences, God willing. And so what we have done as Centonomy is put together programs and tools that individuals can use on their wealth creation journey. You see, when somebody asks, how do I save? You can explain, but it's also good to give them a tool. So like we have, if you go to our social media, we've got our ABC budget. So it's a style of budgeting and saving that we give to people when they come into our classes that begins to change their lives. We have a 5-year financial plan that's become part of our program that we're there, a template that someone can be able to apply that dream, like your dream for the $1 million house and the $1 million assets that will be paying for you to live there. We put together a plan that you can begin to put steps towards it. So what we have seen is that it is an issue of lack of knowledge. Our education system prepares us to be excellent employees, and Kenyans, we are great employees. We are sought after around the world. We are just poor at managing ourselves. So what we have seen in the market is that gap. How do we help employees begin to take control of their personal finances? How do we help entrepreneurs with templates that can help them identify opportunities in the world? Templates that can help them now make those opportunities into financial businesses. Because there's a difference between a business and an opportunity. There are so many opportunities, but making a business means it has to make financial sense. So how do we change your mindset so that you begin to see the opportunity and then give you a tool to help you grow? For those who are employees also and want to advance their career, what we are offering is a way to introspect and to see what are my strengths. So we have tools to help people identify strengths. How do we begin to build social capital, which is when you leave this room, what are people going to say about your team who are here? Did they come and bring something different? And then building a personal brand. So we offer these programs because we've realized it's not something that's going to happen like a talk like this. Good, you may be inspired, maybe you took a note. But what we have realized is that those daily actions that you take are what begin to bring the transformation that you're looking for. So we run programs that are from teenage, I said, all the way to retirement. And it's about identifying what do I want and then how do I get there. And we are in the business of helping you to identify both.
All right.
Yes.
Wiathaka, thank you very much for your time.
Yes.
Very insightful.
Yes.
And I would say outrightly very hopeful.
Thank God for that.
Actually came out more hopeful than many people would actually imagine. So thank you for that hopeful perspective.
Do you mind if I give one more, if you don't mind?
Okay.
I just wanted to let people know, if you want to find out more, centonomy.com. We've got lots of material there, lots of articles that you can read, and you'll learn more about what we offer. Just that. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, and the resources are available.
They're available.
So again, thank you very much for a very insightful and hopeful conversation. And God bless you as you continue to help people become both abundant and purposed. Viewer, we've been talking to Wiathaka Gatumia, the CEO of Centonomy, and he said over and over again that there will be trouble, but Christ has overcome the world. Remember that. You know, Christ has overcome, and therefore when you're on the side of Christ, then you will experience a new dimension. And of course, the wine at Cana of Galilee, when the problem was brought to Jesus, I mean, what Jesus did was not just the old thing. He brought something new. And so, may the newness that God has intended for you come to you. Again, this has been Spotlight. Thank you for watching.